I call up Bill Gates, I call him money for short. I call him up at home and I make him do my tech support. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of It's All About the Pentiums. We're going to talk about OMICRONs today, folks, and what their ranking is. Since the last time I did one, which was in June of 2022, there's been Grand Inquisitor, Malgus, Hut Cartel, Fulgrim Ahsoka, Savage, and Asajj, the various zhuzes. So here's the thing, folks. People ask me why I keep updating these and making these, and I mean, the people assume that it's for the clicks, and sure, I mean, as a content creator, you can't escape from that aspect of it. Obviously, you want clicks if you're a content creator and you're taking time to do this. I mean, that's obvious. And, you know, any thumbs up and comments and all that stuff to help me mount the algorithm is obviously very appreciated. However, the other piece of it, guys, I still want to add value. I don't make videos that don't add value in some way, in my opinion. And the thing is, OMICRONs are a really unique way to kind of, you have to figure out this resource allocation game in your own way. Everyone's got their own path. Everyone's got their own preferences. And they're like, man, I really love the way Night Sisters play, for instance. And so is the OMICRON viable? Just because people don't want to be competitive sometimes people do, sometimes they don't. But either way, that doesn't mean you don't want to be effective. And I really want to add value to people's rosters in that way, just by providing as strong of analysis and discussion as I can. Now, am I the sole arbiter of truth? No, obviously not. However, I do think I have provide a decent, unique set of, perspectives. And, I would recommend you guys go check out other people's perspective as well. I just want to make sure that everyone is making the best decisions possible and they can be happiest and be able to figure out this game alongside myself. I'm always thinking about this because my alt especially is free to play for the most part, and got to figure out the OMICRON situation because it's important to stay competitive for me. Other people want to do it for their guild, for territory wars. And so I actually have a infographic. I updated it, and I even have the various characters that have more than one OMICRON. I have a little graphic that shows which one it is, and if you want to get that graphic, you can go to my Discord server. It's linked in the video description. It's in the Infographics channel toward the bottom of the server, and you guys can get that for free. You guys can check it out. Be the hero for your guild. The hero that your guild probably doesn't deserve, frankly. None of my guilds do. No, one of them does at least. So, that being said, let's actually get into the actual discussion on these, shall we, folks? I know I've taken a bit. Alright, whoa, we're in the infographic madness. So, gosh, here, hold on. Let me just get my face off of here for 1 second. We're going to get back on in due time. However, the rankings are S as the highest top rank. I know that's kind of counterintuitive. Why would S be up top? And I don't have a good answer for you. I don't have the answers that you want for that. But that's typically how ranking systems are used. And I'm sure there's a rational explanation that no one's ever given to me. But one way or another, S is the top, A is the second, B is the third. But why, though, ranking is not necessarily bad. You can see the little asterisk there saying, like, you just need a plan to go with them. You shouldn't just upgrade them for fun. I mean, you can if you want. If it's fun to you, you're like, yay, I have an OMICRON I can't even use. I guess I can't really argue with that because I don't really care. But, F minus is just like, I don't really see much current relevant use to it. And that's it, folks. Let's actually zoom in, though. Let's start talking about some of these things a little more in depth. Whoa, there's my face. And there's the zoom. Alright, so in Grand Arena first, we have Starkiller Unique, which is probably the most important out of all of them in the whole game. It turns his whole squad on. Like, it hits the on switch for it. The whole squad isn't, like, turned on, you know, but it might be. Who knows? The level of power that he provides for his squad is amazing, and it translates really well in 3v3 as well. It's very, very strong, guys. I can't read you everything. You're gonna have to go forth and learn how to read for yourself, or, you know, hopefully you're already literate, but if you're not, I would highly recommend it, just so you can read some of these kits. And some of them may take you a while to read, hours in fact. But Supreme Leader Starkiller, gosh, he's unique though. By far the best one in the game, in my opinion. It just does so many things, and this is why for the longest time Starkiller was only good in GAC. In Territory Wars, not so much. Now, that changes now that Juhani's here, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. This unique is what makes him good, though, folks. We also, now these are in no particular order, so we have Wampa on the next of them. He's just a fluffy, shaggy god. He's amazing, guys. He does so much stuff to so many people. In threes, he just destroys people. He always finds someone to be able to get a high banner score on, and he beats a lot of really problematic teams such as Iden and sometimes Mon Mothma, which that's actually pretty dicey, but he does a lot of good stuff. In 5v5, he also beats a lot of teams. Like he'll beat like General Grievous, he'll beat a lot of other teams, and the thing is, in fives, once you get to a certain point, he isn't going to be able to. Sometimes he just sits on the bench. You can make a Wampa-proof board now. He's susceptible to tenacity down, which is everywhere these days. However, he's still pretty good. He's pretty good there. He's a good cleanup character, and I don't know. At some point, we're gonna demote him to A. People who would tell me that he always takes down Sith Eternal makes me lol a little bit, guys. He is not that good. He is not good enough to always take down a good Sith Eternal. Sure, the bad ones, but people who argue with that was one of the things people said last video. Were like, no, he always kills Sith Eternal. He solos them. I'm like, yeah, except if Sith Eternal has anyone good on his team. Qui-Gon Jinn on S. The reason for that is, first off, he is still so relevant on defense. If you decide to commit on the mods, you have to make him and Jedi Knight Anakin and Ki-Adi-Mundi faster than your opponent's Bad Batch Echo. You have to. If that doesn't happen, then you lose. You just straight up lose, and you shouldn't have them on defense. They're still really good on offense. They take out a lot of stuff. The other awesome thing about Qui-Gon is that you can get him so easily, and his team is so intuitive in terms of like roster progression for other things, like his fleet, like the fleet for Jedi Knight Anakin, like his ship, everything, you know, the Padme squad, you know, and you want Ki-Adi-Mundi eventually. He's very accessible, and he's probably going to be a lot of people's first Omicron, to be honest. Malgus and his leadership also just really boost that Sith Empire team up like crazy. I would actually say that that's probably the second best in the game if you have Malgus. Now, if you don't have him unlocked, then I don't know how you're applying his Omicron in the first place, but if you are, I'm very impressed, and you should stop cheating. Now for A, Savage is new to the scene, folks, and he's been very impressive in threes so far. I know that he can go with Sith Eternal, but he's also just good on his own with other things. So far, I've had to avoid him using Galactic Legends, which anytime a character, especially like a really, you know, like normally pretty poor level character is forcing me to use a Galactic Legend to counter them, that's pretty strong, I would say. He's a very, very strong candidate for, eventually might go up to S, I'm not sure. Iden Versio's one that may end up having her stocks get lower and lower as there's more and more counters to her. However, she still hits like a truck. She still does a lot of really cool stuff, and you can usually find a target for her to be able to take out. She's also really nice at, I really like her turd polishing abilities, which means she makes bad characters good with her Omicron. Adrad has been getting me so many holds lately in 3v3 and 5v5. Now, you gotta beware, a lot of times Bad Batch can beat him, but otherwise, I mean, he keeps giving, guys. He does a lot of good stuff. Not to mention, it does make your Profundity 1 speed faster, which so far doesn't seem to be that necessary. However, it may end up making a difference in the long run. The Malgus special also seems pretty good. It's hard to tell, guys, for sure just how impactful his special and his unique are. His unique isn't that great in 3v3 just because it doesn't need to be spread further. However, his special seems good. The problem being we can't really test it until his Datacron is out of the picture. He never does this ability ever if he has the Datacron, and most people who have Malgus unlocked so far have the Datacron, so that's tentative that he's going to stay there, but I think that that's going to be where he stays. Zam, she used to be S. I don't know. Here's the problem with Zam. First off, in 3v3, she's not that good. So only half of the time is she that good. Like, she could be okay on some teams in threes, but the thing is, the more characters on her team, the more she's able to affect things and increase speed. So she's not giving that much speed to her friends, the other bounty hunters. And in fives, right now, I mean, with the advent of Datacrons, I just haven't found a really great bounty hunter team that really relies on her speed. Once the turn meter crons are gone, maybe she'll be a little more relevant. Now, I'm not basing her ranking based off of solely on Datacrons. However, I have noted that she has diminished returns with the bounty hunter team the more and more I progress, especially with Datacrons. As more and more sets are released, she's not as relevant anymore, guys. She's really good, and I really, really love her Omicron. It's still not the very best. Now, next we have the B level. So Akbar is someone that I think people overlook quite a bit. He has tenacity up at the very least for everyone on the Rebel team. He gives them a lot of free shots. He gives a lot of different awesome things to his team. I mean, he's not the very best. He really isn't. But he provides a lot for the teams that he's on quite a bit, and I mean, especially in threes, you can usually find a target for him with Leia, and you don't really need Leia's Omicron really to make him work. He works really well with Stormtrooper Han. Really enjoy the team. I think as you continue to progress, it gets less and less amazing, but it's bailed me out a couple times, actually, even with my main account, so pretty good stuff. No complaints. It's better for lower level accounts though. First Order TIE Pilot, man, talk about a disappointing Omicron. When he was first released, I was like, yeah, we're definitely taking out a Galactic Legend with him, and just none of those have surfaced yet. We haven't found a counter for it. He makes his whole team faster. They do a lot of damage, and it's cool, but it also rips apart your Supreme Leader Kylo team, because you really want Hux to be on his team to be good. But if you don't have Hux, then his team is worse, and Hux really sometimes wants to be with Supreme Leader Kylo to prevent turn meter gains there. And so he's kind of a divisive little man, and unfortunately he's been relegated to the B level. That doesn't make him bad, but probably not a priority for people. Now if you have First Order and you're like, man, I don't know where to spend all my Omicrons, not a bad place to put him. You just have to put more gear on him as well, him and his squad, to be able to do enough damage to warrant it. Starkiller with his second unique, the one that he does in AoE and dispels buffs, is really strong here, folks. It's not, you don't absolutely need it for him to function. I mean, I think it's a nice luxury one, and it's the one that I would get second if I could. But it dispels things, it does a lot of damage, and it can really mess with some debuff-friendly, or some buff-friendly teams, such as Adrad, or maybe like Jedi or something. And I really like him being able to dispel a lot of things, like against Rey. It can be really helpful as well if you can do that. Now Dash, right now his stock is up just because of his Datacron. However, he provides some good services. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. Like, he's still good in Territory Wars, which means, in Territory Wars he doesn't get to use his Omicron. I do think that his stock is rising a little bit. I've seen him, I mean, people have done it to me. You can use him to counter Galactic Legends, in fact. You can take out Jedi Master Luke with him, even if Jedi Master Luke has his really awesome Datacron. So, I don't know, B is maybe a little too weak for him, to be honest. Especially his Datacron right now is absurd, but even without that, you can take out Jedi Master Luke pretty easily with his team. The only reason he's in B 3 is because the rest of his team is pretty inaccessible. It's tough to really find the time or the gumption to be able to farm that team. I don't know if gumption was even used well there, but it was fun to say. And so Dash is a lot of fun. He's a really fun character. Do you absolutely need his Omicron? Probably not. It probably boosts, I don't know if it boosts his ship or not. We'd have to do the research on that, but he does okay. Malgus, his unique, it's just tough to tell if it's useful at all. I mean, in 3s it has diminishing returns. We're going to have more definitive answers once that Datacron is gone, folks. I think that it's the least of the 3, however. And then for the but why, though, I mean, Krennic has some uses, but he takes like Dark Trooper or Death Trooper a lot of times. Leia, really, I mean, you need her Omicron and poor old Akbar's, and they're so squishy sometimes, especially once their turn meter Datacron is gone. It can be okay, but you have to, for that team to work, you need 440 total Omicrons, and it's for a niche team. So you really need a good plan for her. If you have a roster that really benefits from it, great. Then sure, do what you want. You do you. Talon is a character that doesn't really go with, so it only works with Traya, but Traya doesn't want her. Sith Empire wants her. Malgus wants her. And therefore, her Omicron doesn't work well. If you have a plan to use her with Traya and you want to put her Omicron on, then great. Otherwise, not really that useful. Starkiller throwing the entire tire works okay, but it just doesn't... It's okay. It requires a lot of different things. It's like, okay, you have to get to your big ultimate thing first, and then once you do that, then it just provides a couple permanent debuffs. Like, it's okay, it's fine, but at the same time, unless you're using your Starkiller team a lot, which, I mean, I do, it's a good one. It's just, it's fine. I mean, we could probably put it in B level and get away with it. The Asajj one is good. The problem is no one has Night Sisters, and Night Sisters a lot of times really prefer to have really low gear on a lot of the characters, which means the Omicron is like, I mean, it can be okay, but they don't benefit that much from it. I mean, it can be fine. I'll put it on my alt at some point, but it's hard to prioritize that when I have other ones like Malgus and Starkiller and Dash and Adrad to apply. Chirpa is like, well, if you don't have invested Ewoks, like you really need you need relic Ewoks, frankly. And once you do that, then sure, Chirpa's fine. But otherwise, and why are you putting relics on Ewoks, really? At this stage in the game, probably not wise at any level of account, though I do recommend getting Gear 11 at least. The Tuskens, I don't know. It's like now we have requirements for 2 different Tuskens, but otherwise they're 3v3, so you're only using them once every other month, or 9 times every other month. It's okay, but at the same time, it's not that good of a squad. Anyways, I wouldn't recommend it unless you already have all relic Tuskens. And then finally, Chrysanthemum. Who knows if this is going to be amazing, guys? We're going to find out when we get Jabba's kit, but for now, you need a plan with it, and really, I just destroyed one with Traya. It didn't seem to make much of a difference at all. I would say hold off on this until we know what Traya has. Rose, we don't want anything to do with you, I'm sorry to say. Alright, Territory Wars, guys. Mara Jade is a kind of must-have, so she can go on a Starkiller team alongside Juhani. Those two revitalize that Starkiller team in a really big way, and if you don't want to do that, there's currently a Datacron team with Mara that works really well with Tarkin, and you can kind of just shunt that aside. However, her and Juhani are probably the ones, it's like, well, for most guilds who are competing in Territory Wars, you probably want to have those two as the requirement for your entire guild. Same with the Scion of Jango leadership. I mean, it makes that whole team take down Lord Vader pretty easily if you have the right modding for it. Fulcrum Ahsoka has changed the game quite a bit, and she's a brand new one to this list, but she's right at the very top because she can solo a lot of these Starkiller teams, actually, even with the revitalized Juhani and Mara. She is the Territory Wars Wampa. She just is a solo specialist and does a lot of really cool stuff. Now, people are creating tech to counter her, but she's able to fit in against a lot of different teams, and if an entire guild has a fully Omicron Fulcrum Ahsoka. She is really crazy good. Now, Phasma is one that people keep wish-washing about. They're like, man, she is good. No, she's not. She is. At the end of the day, I've seen a few guilds do some crazy things with Phasma. She can pull off a lot more than you really kind of think. And so, even though she's pretty lame in the movies, she does okay stuff. I mean, she does okay, and she has a cool accent, and there's that. In Territory Wars, though, she really is essential to a few different big guilds' plans, and she's been very, very impressive. Not to mention what she can do with, low, kind of thrown away trash. She's also a turd polisher, I guess you might say. Scion of Django with his... Oh, shoot, what is this? This is his unique? Yeah, his unique does some good stuff. I mean, it gives boosts to the rest of his team. I mean, is it absolutely essential? Not as much as his leadership. I would say, though, that if you're taking Territory Wars seriously, you probably want that. The Grand Inquisitor, it's like, well, you finally got your Grand Inquisitor. Oh, he's only like 5th on the list, or it's not even 5th, it's like 7th on the list of priorities. I mean, get his leadership. His leadership is good. His special where he auto-kills Jedi is also fairly good. Is he killing Jedi Master Kenobi? No, not even with his cool Omicrons. However, he does do some decent things right now, and once we get Reva, he may end up going up a step in priorities. Who really knows? But really, I mean, if you have Grand Inquisitor, if you have Scion of Django, those are two that are probably worth, taking a look at. Mace is really good. I mean, it can do a lot of cool stuff. It really does turn your whole Kenobi team into something really interesting, or whatever other teams he's on. Like, his Shatterpoint is really good in GAC without the Omicron. With the Omicron doing even more, does a lot of cool stuff. Sidious can do some cool stuff with the new Malgus teams, because Malgus doesn't have a Territory War Omicron or anything, but Sidious actually really benefits with him if you have him, modded to fit in the right way. T3 can do some stuff with, some of the droid teams, like General Grievous can do some cool stuff, and then Sortie also has some really cool stuff. Something that I really wish was in GAC, frankly. I would not hesitate to get that one if it was in GAC. Now, in terms of, you need a plan, Jin can be really good with an AdRad team. I actually just faced a couple of them this last Territory War, and I was like, wow, she actually does do quite a bit. I had always thought it was a strange Omicron until I saw her in context with AdRad, in which case I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually fairly good. So if you have a good AdRad team, it's a decent one. Scion of Django and Grand Inquisitor and their third abilities, it's like a lot of guilds don't even require them, honestly. I've asked a few different guilds, and they're like, yeah, they're fine, but we'd rather have a lot of these other ones first. And then same with Embo, and we really just don't know about Scando yet. And then poor Inquisitors, I feel bad for all the people who invested in Inquisitors before they discovered that all of the leaderships are not just going to be smashed together. We also have, like Hera and Farm Boy Luke and one of the Jawas. Is it Nebet? I don't know. They all look kind of fun, but do they actually impact things? Not too much. I mean, your guild will highly benefit from any of these ones up top. They will just be amazing if you have the right team for them. And that's really the thing, too, is Territory Wars really wants the right team, right? All right, finally, we have PvE, and this is kind of a hard one to grade, because it's like, well, first off, Kyle Katarn is probably the best one. It's a Territory Battle Omicron, and if you want to, I mean, a lot of people get this one just so they can hit auto in, say, Territory Battles. Is it going to be amazing and required moving forward into the Jabba Territory Battle stuff? I'm not sure. It seems okay, at least. I'm not really sure, though. I mean, right now, it's the best one. The tricky part is how many people have a fully relicked Rebel Fighters squad with Mon Mothma and everything. Not really sure. If you have the team, though, this is probably, bang for your buck, the best Omicron you can get in Territory Battles. Finn and Leia, if you have the right team for them, they will just school all the waves. The thing that's awesome about Rolo is for lower level guilds, same with Finn, honestly, if you have the teams that go with them in territory battles, they get 4 out of 4 every time. You can just schedule that. It's pretty strong. And the awesome thing, especially about Rolo, but also Finn, is it means you can donate your really good other teams instead. So like you can donate CLS with if you put Rolo in, and CLS is a huge part of donations and platoons. If you're in a lower level guild that still needs that and people really rely on the CLS team, if you have the Rolo Omicron, you can just Rolo through all of those waves and get 16 out of 16 and not miss CLS at all. Now, Boosh is an interesting one because this is the first raid Omicron, and I put it in here because it's the best at what it does. It does good at raids, I guess, but who knows? I think, though, the reason I have it here instead of, like, Sorties is down here, and that's the first of its kind as well for Conquest, the reason I like Boosh's is up top here is because a lot of guilds, again, this is for lower level guilds, if you're struggling to get through this Rancor, the buffs that she gives can be really, really strong. Now, I haven't seen any good videos with her yet, and I don't really know if they're really going to be amazing. However, I do think that that's probably worth looking at if you're in the guild, a guild that really, really needs help beating that challenge Rancor. Sortie, here's the thing, you don't need her. You don't need her to be able to do well in Conquest. The Omicron is good, but it's not that good, and there's so many conditionals. Sure, sometimes I've seen videos where it's just like, oh my gosh, that was amazing, but there are a lot of times that I'm like, you don't even meet the conditions, so you lose anyways, so who cares? Sortie is good on her own in Conquest. If you really love Conquest and you want to do this, I mean, I would still say no, don't do that. It's a bad idea. But you do you. So IPD is another one. It blows up every time and stays alive. It's cool. Territory battle. I don't know, like blowing up for 100,000 just seems pretty quaint at this point. And once we get to the next territory battle stage, I just think it'll be quaint-er. It will just be an acquaintance. It won't even be a friend. I used to love using IPD to assassinate different characters if I needed to clean things up or whatever. And now it's like 100k. What does that even kill? Like, there's no character out there that I'm personally facing that's less than 100k health and protection. Anyways, what happens in territory battles when you're like, well, 100k barely dents the protection at all. It just keeps blowing up. That's cool. You really don't need this one. Not yet. Maybe for the next territory battles it'll look a little better. Finally, Karth. We're going to have to reevaluate him. The thing is, for right now, without a mixed territory battle, he's so limited. Like, you can't use Canderous with him. You can't use, like, Old Republic is like half and half right now. And the team it sucks anyways. And yeah, if you want to use Old Republic, you just can't use all Old Republic. So this one looks pretty garbage right now. And that being said, I think we're done here, folks, with all the rankings. I'm sure that there are some, I wouldn't even be surprised if there are some that I just didn't even include on the list. Last time I think I totally spaced on Dash. So let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you disagree. I'm sure you will disagree with some of these rankings. I would love to hear some of your thoughts on them. I would love to go more in depth on all of this, but I feel like I skimmed quite a bit and we still ended up at just under 30 minutes. So guys, thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xerath prevails. Have a good one, guys. Happy Omicroning, people.